evening, everyone, and welcome to the Planning Commission meeting for November 8th, 2017. If everyone would join us with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started, I'd like to advise anyone that would like to make a public comment on any of the agenda items. There are cards in the back of the rear of the meeting room, and please fill them out and hand them to the staff here, and we'll be glad to call you up on the agenda items, or even if you just want to make the public comment. And just for a reminder, each person gets 2 minutes. Thank you very much. Now, may I have a roll call, please?
Das Magwal is absent. Satori?
Yes, present.
Tallarico?
Present.
Proaño?
Here.
Di Giovanni?
Present. For purposes of agenda item number 1, I'm going to have to recuse myself because I live within 500 feet of this particular project. So I'm going to turn this over and, oh, where are they?
Start from the top.
Are they here?
No, start from the top of the minutes.
No, but do we have them?
Yes.
Okay. So we have to approve the minutes first. Sorry, before I recuse myself. I apologize.
It's all right.
I want to make sure that I was doing everything right. Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the minutes, please, or any amendments or changes?
Motion.
Second the motion.
Thank you. So I approve the minutes as is as stated. And again, what?
All in favor?
Yeah, I am. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Our minutes are approved. Thank you very much. Now we can get to the public hearing. So again, I just wanted to make sure everybody knows that I live within 500 feet of this particular
Question
project.
privilege, Your Honor. You don't have to recuse yourself as a presiding officer, but you cannot make any vote or make a decision or comment. But you can still preside, Your Honor, under the parliamentary procedure.
Yeah, actually, that may be correct, but our practice has always been that you actually step down from the dais and leave the room for recusal within 500 feet.
Right.
And the chair has already agreed to do so. Thank you.
Yeah.
You guys.
So for the purposes of this item, I'm going to be turning this over to chair this particular item, and I will return at the end after the vote is finalized to the Commissioner Tallarico. So with that, he will open the public hearing.
And she departs. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad to see a lot of people here. We'll proceed with the presentation from Corey, right? And I just want to remind everybody, this is a preliminary. There are things to be asked, of course you want, but there's also the first stage, which means it'll go through this process, and then it'll go to this council to receive that vote, whatever we do, and then it goes on to other ones with building permits, et cetera, et cetera. So your questions can be had, but let's remember, we're just starting on saying, yeah, this might be a good concept. So that we can't get, I really think if we get into the real nitty-gritty, we'll be here for a long time, because it's a large project. But in saying that, also, please enter your cards and print your name, because I have a hard time reading things, and we'll proceed. Mr. Corey.
Good evening, Chair Tallarico, Planning Commission. My name is Corey Alvin, representing the Planning Division. The project before you proposes an amendment to the plan development designated PD 60. It's the underlying zoning for the Westlake Shopping Center. So as the zoning ordinance establishes, this hearing is to review what we call the sketch plan and the preliminary plan. Will be done concurrently. Thank you. The City Council will review the preliminary plan on November 27th. The precise plan is anticipated to be adopted by both the Planning Commission and the City Council sometime in 2018. The project proposal involves a demolition of a 55,000 square foot, two to three story office building. Its replacement would be the construction of a 6-story mixed-use building, including 179 dwelling units and 34,000 square feet of ground floor of retail and office space. It includes a subterranean parking garage, providing 260 parking stalls, a proposed new auto access road along the south facade of the proposed building connecting, or it will connect, Park Plaza Drive and Westlake Center Drive. A general plan amendment is required to change the use designation of the C-RO retail office designation in the general plan to C-MU, which is mixed use. That allows the residential, or it acknowledges residential in the general plan. The proposed amendment to the current PD 60 zoning standards, the proposed amendment is to allow the PD zoning district standards to include residential development. That's the general site location of the Westlake Shopping Center. Here are some existing photos, on-site photos. This is the subject site looking southwest, the subject site looking southeast, a view east of the subject site, a view south of the subject site, and this is the location of the proposed two-way street between Park Plaza Drive and Westlake Center Drive. It actually goes to the parking lot and then out to Westlake Center. View of the subject site. View west of the subject site. This is a view north of the subject site. This is the residential neighborhood across John Daly. This red boundary here is the outline of the scope of work that will take place in the shopping center. Here's an existing and proposed site plan. This is the outline of the existing building. This is the outline of the proposed building. This is the new street that's proposed, where now it's a walkway. So circulation would come off of John Daly through this, what could be considered kind of an alley, and then through the parking lot and out to Westlake Center, and vice versa. This sort of sienna color designates all the retail space proposed. This yellow area is more of the access point to the residential portion of the building. Basement floor plan level 1 has approximately 130 parking spaces there, and the same for basement floor plan level 2. A little bit more of a detail of the ground floor plan. This would be the main entrance to the residential portion of the building. This here is the residential leasing office. And then there are, of course, ancillary space in here for the operation of the building itself. Here, let's see, this is the parking entrance. And this is the lobby, main lobby of the building. This area here is sort of a service area for deliveries. That includes deliveries to the office area and residential deliveries for food and other things. This is a plan that we in the planning division had some concern about in terms of just how circulation would occur around the building, through the parking lots, out to Westlake Center. This is a plan of pedestrian and bicycles. The blue sort of arrows are sort of entryways into the building, the buildings, I should say. The sort of orange color or bicycle circulation. The pedestrian circulation is, let's see, it's kind of like this blue area here. And the project sponsor will get into more detail, and we're still working this through, but it is acknowledged that the circulation around this area of the Westlake Shopping Center is much to be desired, and the insertion of this building and the activity that happens at this building will, of course, intensify it. So this is kind of still a work in progress. The vehicular bus and service vehicle circulation is here in blue. So there's some attempt to try to keep them separate. The vehicular bus and service circulation from the pedestrian and bicycle circulation and have them work together. This is a second floor plan, which also includes 2 courtyards that face the parking lot. Third, fourth, and fifth floors are typical to this scheme here, all looking down on a courtyard facing the parking lot. This is a graphic of the landscaping that would occur on the second floor podium and also on the ground level in and out through the parking lot, across the retail space area. Also, there's obviously a need for landscaping at the site. There's not a lot there now. This we consider to be quite an improvement to what's there. We've also asked the architect and project sponsor to create a little bit more of a pedestrian flow through the parking lot. So they have agreed to take out some of the parking, here and here. And I believe these will be landscaped as well, to create a better access point from the parking lot to the new building and have it be conspicuous and easy to find. And this is the main sort of corridor through the parking lot. There's something of a pathway through here currently, but this is quite an improved and larger pathway through the parking lot. Architectural renderings of the facades. This is the west facade facing the parking lot. This is the east facade that faces Park Plaza Drive. South and north elevations, you can see the retail does wrap around the corner of these two sides. South elevation here, north elevation here. Aerial perspective of the project area. You can clearly see how the podiums sort of work here above the retail spaces and the views from this facade toward the west. Perspective view from John Daly. This is taking a left off of John Daly onto Park Plaza Drive. This is Park Plaza Drive and the new roadway between, this is, I believe, sleep mattress here, and of course the proposed building. Oh, and this is the leasing office. And this is the main entry to the residential portion of the building, and here are the entries, the vehicular entryways to the residential portion. This is the corner of the parking area and the new roadway. You can see the balconies, how they're a little bit more defined, and you can sort of understand how the architecture works here. Obviously, the architecture is very modern and sort of simple and clean, which is something that we thought was consistent and compatible with the neighborhood and the history of the neighborhood. Perspective looking from the west toward the building. Existing palm trees here. And all of these are, of course, a proposed tree planting scheme that was depicted in the landscape plan. This perspective of Westlake Center Drive, looking at the west facade. We're still working with the project architect and project sponsor on proposed signage. This is silhouetted so you can see the building, but that's where the existing sign would be. There's also some lighting discussion that needs to be had to make sure that there is pedestrian lighting, especially along the retail spaces, the retail portion of the building. These are photo simulations. They're a bit hard to see, but looking down Park Plaza Drive, this is the existing building, and this is the new building. From John Daly Boulevard, we can see the existing building back here, and this is how the new building would fill that space. Looking from Cliffside, that's the existing building over here, and this is the proposed building there. And the view from John Daly Boulevard, this is a little further west. You can look back and see the photo simulation of the change in silhouette here. The environmental study or the initial study, I should say, for the environmental review of the project is still under review by staff. Were able to extract a few things out of it and give it some analysis, initial analysis, and one of them was parking, the other's traffic. In terms of parking, the PD 60 zoning parking requirements are 3.29 stalls per every 1,000 square feet of leasable commercial space. The proposed project would satisfy the current parking requirement for the commercial use in the center and separately satisfy the residential component of the project by providing 260 residential parking stalls where only 236 are required by the zoning ordinance. It is likely that staff will require the excess parking, which is 24 stalls, to be dedicated employee parking. Project affordability, all rental projects of 5 or more units is subject to an affordable housing impact fee at the time the building permit is issued. As I mentioned, the initial study is still under review. The project, as we see it so far, looks likely to be or to require a mitigated negative declaration. The initial study does find the proposed project would generate fewer external vehicular trips than the existing development during weekday daily and AM and PM peak hours. And that the proposed project would generate 17 net new external vehicular trips during the Saturday midday peak hour. So that number 17 seems to be the only increase in traffic generation, according to the initial study and our analysis so far. The fiscal analysis of the project is estimated to generate revenues of $692,700 per year. The estimated city service costs for the proposed development is $226,000 a year. The net fiscal impact estimated is 472 and 100 annually. So there's about a 4 times revenue difference here, according to the fiscal analysis. And I believe there may be someone here to talk about that if you need further detail. The recommendation is that this preliminary plan for the amendment of the PD 60 be approved. Like I mentioned, the project sponsor, the architect, I believe his consultants are here to answer any further questions you may have. And of course, we'll try and answer your questions as well. Thank you.
So, we can ask questions? Okay, good. Some of the figures and some of the ideas seem to be a little off. I live in Daly City for 33 years. One of my big questions is the present traffic configuration coming down John Daly and trying to get into Westlake is an impossible nightmare. You go in, you take a left, and you've got 4 stop signs within 300 feet, you're backed out to John Daly. Now, are the project Kimco willing and able to correct that issue? Because you're showing the John Daly traffic coming down and the apartments on the left, but the next entrance is going into Westlake. Will that be eliminated or will that be expanded? But it has to be corrected. Do you know?
The plans don't show any, they don't propose any modification to that intersection at this point.
Well, I would, well, anyway, okay. I would suggest that because if you have a problem and you're going to do something else and you don't affect the problem, we're going to big problem. And as far as 17 increase on Saturday and Sunday, have you ever driven down John Daly on Saturday and Sunday to Westlake? Have you? I asked you, Corey.
Maybe once.
Well, I think we should try twice.
Yeah.
Okay, come on, that number was picked out of the sky.
Yeah.
Everybody knows, wait till Thanksgiving. All right, so next question for me is, you say zoning change for mixed use on this particular plan, am I correct? That doesn't change for the whole Westlake Center, does it? The zoning change for mixed use allowing residentials to be with commercial, that change we're dealing tonight, or we're talking about for the new 6-story apartment. So does that change affect the whole Westlake?
It would cover the whole PD district,
So
which is
then,
Westlake.
my question would be, does that mean, oops, here comes another apartment, oops, here comes another apartment?
Well,
Is there any restriction on that thing? Can I ask one of the planners or somebody?
It's still a planned development, so pretty much any numerical change at the shopping center would require a planned development amendment, which is the same weight as a zone change. So even if the designation is changed that makes residential an allowable concept on the site, the zoning regulations would have to be changed to accommodate it. This planned development is only looking at adding the 179.
Okay, that's
So
what
if in the future they wanted to build another apartment building,
Right.
it would not be a by right use.
Good, okay. That's what I want out in the public, those viewing and those here, so we're not selling the whole hog, so to speak. We're dealing with 179 units. Just one more, and then we'll release it to the other committee people. I noticed you have affordable housing after 5 rentals. Is that what you did say? So we have 20% affordable housing?
No.
No,
If it's
okay.
over 5 units, it's subject to our affordable housing ordinance. Our
Okay.
affordable housing ordinance requires that rental projects, which this is not a condo map.
Right.
Provide an impact fee. So there would be an impact fee that would go to the Housing Trust Fund, which is used to acquire property for development.
That's not the in lieu of thing, is it?
It's an impact fee. It's not an in lieu fee, it's an impact fee.
Okay. All right, so we don't have any idea if the new state allowance of cities to do 20% affordable housing is going to have to affect this.
At this point, it doesn't, because our ordinance has not been changed, and the application has come in prior to us even changing
So
the
even
ordinance.
if we change the ordinance, it won't affect this.
It would be tricky.
Right, the new law takes in effect January 1st,
Right, I know.
2018, as you know. And should the council elect to amend our ordinance, we would have to review whether or not this would apply to this
Okay,
project. Our
so it's
office
not
would review.
just
Thank you.
closed. Okay, other commissioners, you please ask questions.
I'd like to touch back on the traffic. Currently, traffic in that vicinity, and I don't live in that area, but I shop down there, and it's really difficult. And there's one section where I think the lights are off. You don't know when to go. You kind of go, can I go? No, can I go? Do you guys know where I'm talking about? I can see all the heads, yeah. And that's something I think the city needs to address. I'm just pointing that out. And I'm sure that if you check out the lights going when you need to go onto John Daly, they're skewed. You can't see. You don't know when it's your turn to go. So you just chance it.
Off of Park Plaza or the Westlake Drive?
The Westlake. So one for sure is when I know it's a little up, but still, when you leave Boulevard, you can't see the lights. They're all crazy.
Oh, at Poncetta.
Yeah, and then,
Oh, okay.
but also, when you're driving, you're a person going into that vicinity, a lot of times you're locked in. So once you get in there and you need to get up the hill or down the hill, you're locked into a lot of traffic. And I don't know if the city would want to visit that while they're proposing having more people come into that space, that maybe the city look at how it's designed. You know, you have that lovely, all the trees in the middle, and you're trying, right? I know that that's an issue, thinking, oh my God, all these cars are gonna come in, and then we already have a problem. What do we do? My other concern would be how many people they would plan to be living in these apartments, because everybody seems to have a car. And if, right, I'm seeing heads, so I'm sure this is a concern. And so if you have a 3-bedroom or a 2-bedroom, and there's 2 adults, 3 adults, and maybe they're sharing, maybe they're going to school at San Francisco State, and there's all these cars, and where do they go? So that would be a concern. And on a positive side, it's my understanding that City of Daly City, we're really stretched for housing. So that's a good thing. And if I was sometimes I walk to the store or whatever, it's nice to be able to get out and walk and then go home. So that's a plus. I'm not trying to throw all the negative stuff out there, but on behalf of the citizens, I think my biggest concern, if I was living in that vicinity, would be the parking, the cars, and how John Daly Boulevard is. It was great 50 years ago, 60 years ago, but maybe the design is not doable for the amount of cars that are going up and down that road. So, yeah.
Commissioner Santori?
Mr. Chairman, I have a very positive outlook of this project because, in any growth and development, there is always the so-called fear of the unknown, especially the uncharted territory. The point here is all the projects that we have undertaken here in Daly City, the problem here is traffic congestion and parking problem. But I understand that this will be addressed properly by traffic management of the city, and of course, the project people will always look into that. And that's why I see that this could be a turning point for revitalization of the area, because we can more or less, in the studies that I'm reading, especially in the Rutgers University, wherein urban renewal is sometimes tedious, but in the long run, it benefits the whole people, the community. Because urban renewal is sometimes, it can affect some old-timers. But in the process, you develop it, you modernize the city. And we need some annual income also here based on your estimate here. So this can help, and it can generate a lot of jobs. And the modernization is also something that we have to inculcate, that sometimes those refuse to change, but especially the growing population wants really a good neighborhood wherein you can walk, you can shop, at the same time you don't have to use your car. So to me, it's not that because I saw the plan here and I analyzed it, and I feel that this is a project that the city should adopt, because we don't have too much space here in the city. We don't have too much economic wherewithal wherein we can probably draw a lot of place wherein we can develop this. I have been here in Daly City for almost 30 years, and I have seen how it grows. This was started by the Dolgers and the Pacelli family, this Westlake. And it's about also to change. We have to reconfigure the contour of the city to develop it. We cannot just let the city decay, or have a decaying city wherein we cannot even develop. And you know, sometimes I have read the concern of one person here. You know, modernization is something that we have to live with, because we don't live here forever. We have to see to it that we maintain the state-of-the-art buildings as being, and I concur with this, with the project. And hopefully that with our concern about traffic congestion and traffic problem, we can address this properly with all the traffic engineers, traffic management, and also, I understand also my question here is, will there be an underground parking? So if there is an underground can it be state-of-the-art, like if there is a vacancy, or how many? And also, can you put a camera wherein security is also being undertaken? With this, I just reserve also my other comment, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Bringing just one more question to the floor is, Kimco, representatives are here? Yeah, well, maybe they could answer. Is it all right to have them come up and answer a question?
Well, right. They can do that. Sure.
I mean, sometimes we're looking at you, you're looking. Now, good evening.
Hi there.
Your name, please?
Michael Strauss. I'm with Kimco. I'm Director of Development based here at the Westlake Shopping
Okay,
Center.
so you're the one we can take pot shots at.
Fire away. Well, I also do have a short presentation to make that may answer some of your
Okay,
questions, but
why
you're
don't,
welcome to
yeah, let's
whichever.
do your presentation, then I
Okay.
can, if you answer it, I won't ask you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity, Mr. Acting Chairman,
Thank you.
members of the Planning Commission, city staff, and members of the public. As I mentioned, I'm Michael Strauss. I am with Kimco, based right here in Daly City, right at the subject site at the shopping center. Just wanted to spend just a few minutes hitting some of the high points as we see them of our project. But before I do, I did want to mention that, as staff had indicated earlier, that we do have a number of representatives from our project team that can help answer some of the questions that may come up. I have two colleagues here who are responsible for the asset management and leasing of the shopping center, in case there are questions along those lines. We have our wonderful architect here this evening who can speak to design and massing and circulation and the like. We have Drew Levitt and Matt Goyne from Fair & Piers, our traffic engineer. It sounds like they'll be pretty popular in just a few minutes, so I look forward to having them help here. We have Amy Herman from ALH Urban and Regional Economics, who did our fiscal impact study, which I think was particularly well done. And I know that the commissioners may have some questions regarding that. We have our land use attorney, and we have our community outreach team from Bay Relations here too. So look forward to just running through real fast some of the, as I mentioned, the high points from the presentation. So let's see how we do this from far. Where is it? How do I do this? Where does it say slideshow? To the right. Oh, there. Oh. Slideshow. Far left, from the beginning. We did it. Yay. Thank you. All right. Well, let's see. Let's just, starting from the beginning, the Westlake Shopping Center is almost 700,000 square feet. It's 685, located on John Daly between Park Plaza Drive and Lake Merced Boulevard. We have a number of very large and prominent tenants that are great destinations for members of the community, the local community in Daly City. We also attract from other municipalities in the vicinity: Home Depot, Safeway, Trader Joe's, Walgreens, Ross, DSW, Burlington. Lots of large retailers and also some really great small retailers too that do wonderful business and we know are particularly valued by members of the community. Our firm purchased the shopping center in 2002 and we last did a major renovation in 2005 to 2007. It's time for some additional investment in the shopping center is what we think. We are proposing to replace two buildings that date from the 1950s. It's about 30,400 square feet of retail and 23,000 and change of the existing Westlake medical and dental tenants. The new building that we're suggesting will have 179 apartments on 5 floors. We're proposing to increase the retail square footage by about 4,000 square feet, which is really important to cities like Daly City because it's the retail that generates important sales tax dollars and also gives a destination for local residents and is a great amenity for the residents in the proposed building. As staff mentioned, we are also proposing 260 stalls that would be on 2 levels that would be below ground. Staff mentioned the entitlements, but we're talking about this process changing the general plan designation just to allow residential as part of mixed use, as the Director of Community Development indicated. This is not a carte blanche approval. We can't sneak in and then all of a sudden, under cover of darkness, add more residential.
I'm sure it won't be under darkness.
Right. But it's an important. It allows. It's just part of the process to allow discussion on this project and others. We have a PD zone that would need to be amended. We're talking about design approvals, and then later there would be some environmental review that would go along with it. While we're here, I just wanted to. This is one of my favorite illustrations, just showing the stacking and showing what we're suggesting. Here are the 2 underground levels. We've got the ground floor level with the retail and the lobby for our residential building, and then the floors up above. All right, why mixed use? What are we doing? We actually think that the Westlake Shopping Center is a great place for mixed use. We're just over a half a mile from BART. Which, while not quite right on top of it, it's certainly walkable. You see the residents of the Westlake Village Apartments all the way around us that circle us, walking to and from in the mornings and the evenings. So it's certainly walkable to BART. It's certainly bikeable to BART. And we plan to have really great bicycle facilities in our building so people can do that. The Samtrans bus lines also go directly to, well, I don't know about directly, but go to BART, and that's convenient for the rainy day or for people who may not be able to just bounce onto their bike and roll over there. And we're very close to the freeway as well. So it allows people to get off of the local road network as quickly as possible, which I'll talk more about in just one second. The shopping center, restaurants, services, the retail, these are great amenities for the residents. Can you imagine just being able to wake up in the morning, throw on a sweatshirt and go down and grab your coffee from Starbucks, or you need a cup of sugar, right? Don't bother the neighbor. Go to Safeway. It's right there. So many restaurants, they're right there. It's actually it's wonderful for the residents. The background here too, there's a context nationwide that's not just specific to Northern California, not just specific to California at all, and that is online sales. I wrote here Amazon, but it's really all the internet sales, and this is part of the backdrop, the background that we're in the retail industry trying to fight against. The point is that retail is under some pressure. It's very much in a state of flux at the moment. You have retail footprints for the stores that are getting smaller. They're shrinking. And one of the strategies that folks in the shopping center business are using is to try to make our places nicer, to dress them up, more lush landscaping, restaurants with nice patios, to try to pull people out and create places that are so great and so special that people want to go there. They want to look forward to it, to try to push back against the convenience of just placing an order on your phone and then it magically appears the next day. I'm not saying that we can win every trip and every purchase, but boy, we think that investing and improving shopping centers will, like this one, will really help. We know Daly City needs more housing. We know the Bay Area needs more housing. This is the kind of location that we think would be a great place to consider it. Understand there are certainly impacts, but we think that we can mitigate most, if not all of those. One other comment I wanted to make is there's a dirty word these days, and that's displacement. That so often, so many places where there could be growth, to have that growth means that residents need to leave their current homes. This is an opportunity where we can add some great housing supply at a really high quality without displacing some residents. There are some tenants that are there now. We have a number of tenants in these buildings. We are working tremendously hard to try to find as many homes for as many of them in the shopping center as possible. We know that members of the community are used to coming to the Westlake Shopping Center, and they're used to coming to their particular restaurant or their particular services. There are some small businesses here. Our current goal is we're working towards trying to retain and find homes for about 70% of them. Hopefully more, but that's what our goal is currently, to try to keep as many of the valuable tenants who have been at the shopping center for so long in place, and to keep them accessible to the residents that frequent them. Just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the positives, and I think this will address some of the questions that have come up already. This shopping center does, according to our traffic analysis, and again, our traffic engineer will be happy to come up and talk more about why. But in big picture, this reduces traffic by removing, shrinking, and dissipating the high traffic medical uses. Right now, there's the medical office building, which has been there for a long time, of course. The medical office building generates trips where people stay for quite some time. There are a lot of people. I don't think I've ever been to a dentist's office or a doctor's office where there aren't a number of people waiting. Most of those people have cars and they're in the parking lot, and that fills up a lot of parking spaces. So by moving those uses to elsewhere in the shopping center, by dissipating them, by taking them off of John Daly Boulevard, we're going to great lengths that helps shorten the average duration and dissipate the traffic and help alleviate the parking. Currently, we're projecting to move the majority of the medical office tenants to the second floor spaces above the buildings that we own across Southgate. So on the other side of the shopping center, in a location that'll be accessible from more directions, that'll help keep traffic off of John Daly Boulevard, and we think, and with the vast parking fields in front of the Home Depot store and the Safeway across the street, if somebody can't find a close-in space, right where they're trying to go. Those are obviously, those parking fields are obviously well utilized as well. But if you look at the peak hour that some of those retailers have the most of their traffic, or the more traffic than other times, those don't tend to match very well with the medical office building, which is good. So anyway, we're trying that's one of the ways that we reduce traffic. We also reduce the commercial square footage of the shopping center altogether. It's not just that we're moving tenants around. The commercial portion of the center gets just a little bit smaller, I think by about 20,000 square feet. Now that's obviously it's still a very large center, but by shrinking it a little bit, that will also help alleviate the traffic burden. Wanted to also point out, and again, our economic consultant is here as well if there are questions about it. But there's a significant financial benefit to the city for letting us invest in this shopping center. The sales tax proceeds. This will be more retail, a little bit more retail, but higher quality, brand new, really state-of-the-art, really beautiful new stores that will we think do much or significantly better sales than are currently. Just the property tax revenues, by having us invest over $100 million in this project, all of a sudden that increases the basis and increases the property tax too. There are a number of other ways that the city benefits financially. I'm not saying that cures all ills and that should be all that the commission should think of, but it's important, and we know that it pays for the public safety officers and for the staff and the great priorities that the city has to fund. The chairman mentioned the affordable housing. This project generates at least, and it's still need to work out the specifics of it, but I believe the fee is about $25 per square foot. We're talking about, I think it's 140-something thousand square feet of the livable residential area. That's $3.6 million in fees that are generated just for affordable housing at this point. There are a number of other fees as well. Still need to work out the details, but I figure it's about $2 million, maybe a little bit more. So this generates some very, very significant one-time fees as well. Here's where it starts to get where I think that the real impact is, and that is that this project, we think, gives us an opportunity to improve the experience at the shopping center, to improve the circulation, and I'll explain how in just one second, to explain or to improve how the shopping center operates, and to improve the quality of the shopping center. Some of these buildings have been great, but they've lasted past their viable lives, and it's time to let us improve them. Okay, let's talk about the circulation. We know that circulation is important. Just for inside the shopping center, and the better the shopping center circulates, the less impact there might be to the surrounding road network and the surrounding community. The drive that Mr. Alvin was talking about, we think is really important. Currently, from John Daly up through Safeway, there's no entry into the shopping center on the side. There's a one-way out in this vicinity currently, but if you're taking a left onto Park Plaza Drive, you have a ways to go before you can actually get into the shopping center. One way to alleviate the congestion at the main entrance is to offer a real entrance, somewhere else, one that's very convenient. So if you take a left onto Park Plaza Drive, by carving our new driveway through the between the former Sleep Train current mattress firm store and the new building. We think that this will be a really, really important entrance. Plus, sometimes cars can get stuck in here because of the congestion, particularly at peak times. This gives them a much better out than there is currently. So we think that this will improve the vehicular circulation immensely. Staff also strongly suggested to us that we add some additional pedestrian paths in the parking lot. We want to get people who park in the parking lot to our storefronts, to our stores, and out of that parking field as quickly and easily and safely as possible. Plus, we're adding landscaping around this, so it'll be a much greener, more lush experience coming from your car than it is now. I realize it's a little indulgent to talk about sidewalks being luxurious, so if you'll just indulge me for 1 second.
Go for it.
The sidewalks around the building are going to be wide. They're going to feel really open and airy, and it's going to feel great. If you're in front of our the new retail that we're suggesting, and you want to walk over to Trader Joe's or to Ross, this crosswalk here will be a raised crosswalk that has two benefits. Number one, it'll slow the traffic as they have to go over this big speed bump with a crosswalk on top of it, so that we won't have we won't have unsafe. We'll limit the unsafe vehicle actions coming through this corridor. And number two, it makes it much nicer that you don't have to step off the curb to go around. We find that a raised crosswalk we think will really enhance the pedestrian connection between the new building and some of the great destinations in parts of the existing shopping center. I talked about the landscape pedestrian paths. We talked earlier about removing the medical office patients, which will help free up parking. One other point that I did want to make is that this is the driveway to our subterranean garage. The 260 parking spaces that we're going to have in the subterranean levels here will allow the residents of this new building to come in and out of the garage and go up to their units and back without having them mix with the commercial cars that are in this parking lot. So here we are. We're removing demand generators. We're giving a much quicker access that won't mix with the cars that are looking for parking spaces here. We think that the functionality will be great. All right. One other item that we wanted to talk about, and this actually came out of a meeting that we had with staff. We were discussing our plans for the parking, and we were talking about how coming out of that new driveway we were just talking about, that if somebody can't find a parking space in the surface parking field, that they can just bounce out of that entrance or that exit, take a quick right, and then take a quick right into the currently underutilized garage at Ross. And I thought I had it totally figured out.
Yeah.
Well, okay, here was the problem. The problem is that a member of staff said people aren't going to use that because they don't use that now, and it's because the vertical circulation, the vertical transportation is less than ideal. The stairwells are very enclosed. They don't feel great. It's not a great experience. And should you choose to take the elevator instead, the elevator drops you off in this enclosed hall, and it's just not a great experience. So we said we can fix that. So what we're talking about here is adding an exterior stair, so that say you park on the roof, you got a great parking space on the roof, and you're going to Trader Joe's. You have two options. You can come down this external stair. It's covered, so it's protected from the elements, but there's fresh air. It's visible from the common areas below. It's visible from the parking lot, so it won't feel unsafe at all. We think it's going to be a vast improvement over what's there now. So you want to take the elevator instead. Well, by taking the stair out here, that allows us to carve out where the stair is currently and open that up as well. So you'll come down from the elevator, and again, you're going to be open to fresh air, and there's going to be this much more luxurious landing where you can come out and go to Ross. You can go to Trader Joe's, you can go to the credit union, you can go to our Main Street restaurants. We think that this will make some of the parking better. So we're removing some demand generators. We're improving the surface parking, and we're making this this parking structure we think much more effective and a much better experience. So let's see. I think we talked about all of that. So I wanted to talk also about our community outreach. We do plan to reach out extensively to the community. We think I guess this is some concluding statements. We think that the building will make our shopping center better, and not just for the owner. We're talking about for the city, for the tenants that have their businesses there, for our neighbors, and as well as for our customers. We want a better experience for all, including the residents, with really high quality improvements and some wonderful restaurants and some great amenities. In the new 34,000 square feet of retail space we're talking about, we think that we anticipate having somewhere between 3 and 5 restaurants. There's a great signature restaurant opportunity right at the corner across from the Mattress Firm. We're really excited about trying to find someone really special for that space. We think that we're going to create some great patios, and it's going to feel like a really, really wonderful place. This plan is just a concept at this point. We're here. This is a preliminary hearing. We'd love to understand some suggestions that the commissioners that you may have. We continue to field some really good suggestions and questions from staff, and we look forward to expanding into the greater community. We think we've got a great story here, and we look forward to sharing more of the details with the residents of Daly City, both close to us and further away as well. So,
Point of inquiry, Mr. Chairman.
With that, happy to answer any questions or to dish off some questions as necessary.
Mr. Strauss, I understand. I'm speaking here for public interest. What will happen to the tenants that we have now?
Right.
Will they be given a place in the sun where they can still do business within the location? The current tenants, what will happen to them?
Right. Thank you, Commissioner Satori. We're trying to keep as many of them as we can. We know that many of them are very valued in the community. Like I said earlier, our goal is to try to find homes for at least 70% of them. We're working our way down through the list. It's probably premature for me to speculate as to who we'll find places for and who won't. We continue to get a lot of comments from the community. And I apologize if I'm not being specific at this point, but we're in active negotiations with many, and we're trying to relocate not just the tenants that we have to relocate, those with term. We're trying to relocate and find homes for absolutely as many of them as possible.
Yeah, but through the chair.
Sure.
I was just thinking, have you thought about a shuttle, like a free shuttle for your people in the apartments that would go to BART? Like, you'd have a certain period of time where the shuttle would go up and down.
Right.
That would give possibly people more of that opportunity and convenience not to take a car or not to have a car, where you could go to BART to go to work.
Right.
And if you can easily get to work, and BART, that would be an advantage for the residents, and a lot of young people don't want cars.
Right.
They use Uber and all this. So to make life even easier, I know Skyline has been doing this shuttle deal, with BART helping students get to and from Skyline, it's been a big hit. And I don't know if something like a model, something like that you might consider it or think about it.
Really appreciate it. It's a great question. Some of the challenges that we're only talking about 179 units, and we're so close that to have a shuttle to go, I think it's 0.6 or 0.7 miles. It's so close. That could be a challenge. There are also there's a Samtrans bus that leaves right from the Westlake Shopping Center and turns right and goes right up to BART, and then there's another line that comes back down. And I apologize that I don't know the numbers offhand, but the bus from BART will actually drop people off directly in front of the main entrance here, and then I believe it's the line that goes back to BART that is behind the current Walgreens store, so it's on the other side of the shopping center, but that's so there are some other opportunities, but it's a good question. We could certainly explore it, maybe with some of the other owners are around, but I appreciate the comment, and we can certainly look at it. Yes.
I was around for the 207 remodel. I was on the planning
Okay.
commission at the time with Kimco. And Kimco had made some promises, and they're still not done. My concern is very much traffic, very much you better put meters out there, and that 17 numbers for weekends is a lost number. I mean, let's get the real numbers. I want real numbers. I mean, for Friday to Monday, you put the meters out, the track meters for the traffic, and see how much flow comes in, and see how much flow takes a left to get into the present Westlake. And have another one at the end where the 4 stop signs stops it cold. And people have to take a right, and they can't get out of there because there used to be an exit from Walgreens. It ain't there anymore.
Right.
You're going to have to address it, because where I'm concerned, even though this is new, that should be fixed.
Right.
I get in there, I can't get out.
Right.
I don't shop there anymore. I used to shop always there. Don't do it. I used to shop at Trader Joe's. Don't do it. Because you get in, you can't get out. So you're talking about your little alleyway, how nice, go nice. Talk about this one that isn't very nice. And you're in another spot, which really I'm really interested in significant traffic studies. Not 4 o'clock in the morning, nobody there. I mean, real good figures. You don't have that all yet, do you?
We do.
Okay,
We do,
well,
and it's in the city's hands, and we did
Well,
a full TIS, and so,
Okay, well,
but I appreciate your.
Well, there's another spot that I want to get to, because
Okay.
if you come down Southgate, John Daly
Right.
Southgate, do you know the area?
I do. My office is right there.
Okay, so
every
you're
day.
very, okay. You come down, and there's a 4-way stop.
Right.
Stop. In 207, Kimco promised to put traffic lights. Still stop. Still stop signs, which means you got my turn, your turn, which doesn't work. There's 2 schools. There's a Catholic school up above.
Right.
There's a school that comes from Broadmoor. So you know what happens at 2:30.
Right.
So if you, in your kindness and want to be community development, would look at putting traffic signals there. It's a dangerous hazard. Now, if you take a left from Southgate on across where the cemetery unit, that other side street, not Park Plaza, what is it?
Lake Merced.
No, take a left from Lake Merced, Southgate.
Okay.
You go down 2 blocks, stop, 4-way stop again. You got to do something. You can't go stop, because it backs up all the way up around Park Plaza. I've been there. I've been stuck there. That's why I don't shop there. I've been living here 33 years.
Okay.
So I'm just asking, expand your vision. Your vision is, and I understand the mixed use, the apartments. I understand that. I like the little alleyway. But look at what's present. If you're going to fix that and just put that, you're still going to have the problem with the flow. So if you did your traffic study that flow going into Westlake at the 4 stop signs?
Yeah, well, our traffic engineer, I can
Yeah,
ask them to come up.
would it be all right?
Sure. This is Drew Levitt from Fair and Pierce.
Good evening.
Good evening. You know the area I'm talking about, coming down Lake Merced, John Daly Boulevard, I'm sorry. To get in Westlake right now, you have to come down past Park Plaza, and you take a left into the, and there's
Center
2,
roadway, yeah.
right, entrance. You go down, there's 4 stop signs.
That's correct.
That's it. Well, one of them is right turn only. The other one is straight, the one coming towards you, the one coming from the left, and everybody goes, now, what, that has to be some way of triggering a light or something, because it backs out into John Daly. In fact, you mentioning San Mateo, they stop right there and block it. They stop, pull over next to the entranceway and block. The traffic has a hard time getting around. So we're talking about a major change in that flow to the present, because your new area is going to be very nice. It's going to have an alleyway. It's going to have me able to get into that place and go around your parking lot. But the Westlake Mall itself is a dead end.
So if I understand you correctly, you're
Yeah.
referring to the four-way stop sign
Yeah.
south of John Daly Boulevard on that central roadway within
No,
Westlake
I'm
Center.
talking about the first one is getting into Westlake Shopping Center off of John Daly. I take a left
Correct.
into the, what do they call it, Main Street? Yeah, Main Street, yeah. That's another. Westlake Center Drive, excuse me, I didn't know that. Well, when you go down Westlake Center Drive, you immediately hit stop signs. Okay? And there's stop signs coming this way, this way, and this way. That backs up because people do not follow, oh, it's your turn, it's my turn. So it backs up all the way to John Daly at times. So some kind of look at it to see how you can correct it.
So, thank you for that. Because that stop sign is located on private property, that was not one of the study intersections that we studied in this traffic study.
Well, okay, may I ask to include it? Is that too much? Because I'll tell you, my idea of going along with this project, I'm not gonna put new stuff that works, add to old stuff.
So the way that would work is that you would make a recommendation to the
Okay.
city's traffic engineer that that intersection be evaluated.
Not
terms of its-
not only the one that's in
The
Westlake
one that's in
and,
the middle of the shopping center,
Right.
that's the one you're talking about.
okay, that's the way we proceed.
So like that's kind of where Starbucks is
Yeah,
and
yeah, okay,
that
so
little
then,
mess?
then the other
Yeah.
one you may have studied, and I don't mean to beat this up, but we're doing new, let's do it nice. You take John Daly Boulevard, take a left on Lake Merced, and the next intersection is the four stop signs.
The intersection of Lake Merced Boulevard and Belmar Avenue, yes?
No, Lake Merced and Southgate. Belmar is
yes.
not in. Belmar's the South Street. Okay, now, did you do that study?
Yes,
Near
that
Burlington?
intersection was.
Yeah,
included.
it's Lake Merced and Southgate.
Yes, that
Okay.
intersection was one of the study intersections in this study.
What did you find?
We found existing, so we measure these results in terms of what's called level of service, which measures average vehicular delay. And so for that intersection, Lake Merced and Southgate Avenue, we found that it's currently operating at what's referred to as level of service B or C. So to put that in context, the city of Daly City stipulates in its general plan that level of service, so level of service goes A, B, C, D, E,
Right.
and F is the
Right.
final. Level of service A through D is considered acceptable, and level of service E and F is considered unacceptable. We found in existing conditions at that intersection, average vehicle delay ranging from 14 seconds to 22 seconds, depending on time period.
What time period did you do this study?
We studied both the so-called AM and PM peak hours.
Well,
So-
AM, PM, what?
Yes, so weekday AM and weekday PM are standard peak hours for studying.
Give me a number.
Oh,
8 o'clock,
so
9 o'clock?
the peak hour of traffic is, what we do is you take traffic counts from 7 AM to 9 AM and from 4 PM to 6 PM.
Okay.
And then at each intersection, you look at those counts and you identify the consecutive hour-long period during which the most traffic was observed.
You didn't put any, what do you call them?
Those little bumps.
Our traffic counts were.
Yeah.
We set up temporary video cameras.
Okay.
Instead of using the pneumatic tubes, we instead did video
Not to
cameras.
belittle it, but I will.
Yeah, no,
3 o'clock, the school gets out, so you missed that,
that's correct.
okay? 9 o'clock, the city traffic's gone, but the shoppers come.
So I would like to highlight for you that in addition to the weekday AM and weekday PM peak periods, which again are the standard periods for study and a traffic impact analysis, we also, at the city's request and with Michael Strauss's consent, added a weekend midday peak period of analysis.
Good.
Yes, so for that, what we did was we again set up those video cameras and we collected 2 hours of data. Excuse me, that was actually 3 hours. That was 11 AM to 2 PM
Okay.
on a Saturday. And we identified again the peak hour of traffic at each intersection during that period.
9 AM to 4 PM.
The peak hour falling between 11 AM and 2
Okay,
PM. So
okay.
sort of the peak of the
All
peak.
right, Saturday, okay,
Yeah.
Saturday.
Yeah, so just so again, that context, so the weekday AM peak hour falls somewhere between 7 and 9 a.m.
Right.
Weekday PM peak hour somewhere between 4 and 6 p.m. and the weekend midday somewhere between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. And as I said
So that
before-
follows in number B again?
Yes, so during the weekday AM peak hour, there were an average of 14 seconds of vehicle delay at that intersection you referred to. This is the four-way stop-controlled intersection of Lake Merced Boulevard and Southgate Avenue. 14 seconds average delay, which corresponds to level of service B. The PM peak hour, weekday PM peak hour, had 17 seconds, which corresponds to level of service C. And the weekend midday peak hour had 22 seconds, which is also level of service C.
Okay, thank you. I'll refer this to the staff. To do something in that area with traffic signals, I'm going to ask Michael and Krista, is it a new study? In other words, it was, for me, as a citizen driving there, I'd like to see traffic signals. But is that an impossibility?
Well, those traffic signals have to be warranted
Okay.
by something. The city would have to, receive a traffic study that indicated to be a significant delay and warranted the installation of a traffic signal.
Because
At some places, traffic signals are warranted, in some places they aren't.
So it really becomes our onus.
Right, and the other thing is, you have to remember that there's a lot of background traffic. So not all the traffic in that area is associated with the shopping center.
Oh, I know.
So if a traffic signal is warranted, the shopping center would be on the hook for the share that is
I
theirs.
see.
And the city then would be on the hook for the
other side.
remainder, or other new developments that are contributing to that. So Kimco would only be paying for the portion that they're impacting.
Two
them
light
as-
bulbs, yes, I understand. But, thank you. And what your study was good, but when 3 o'clock, when the little lady with the stop sign for the kids comes by, that's 16 seconds, it's not true, but that's all right.
Sure.
Thank you.
So it should be said that the city's actually continuing to review the traffic study. It actually hasn't been formally released. This is a
We have-
preliminary hearing to discuss whether the land use concepts are something the planning commission would,
Thank you.
generally like to see advanced to the precise plan stage. And at that stage, then the planning commission again gets to look at this project, takes a detailed look at the traffic analysis. One of the central premises in all of this conversation is that the proposal here is to add a vehicular pass-through from Park Plaza to Westlake Center Drive, thereby creating a secondary entrance for vehicles into the shopping center.
Very good.
Thereby alleviating some of the congestion that presently exists. So we're talking broad concepts right now.
Okay.
Is that something that the planning commission might want the applicant to continue to explore?
Okay.
The answer to that
Thank
is
you.
yes. Then
I
you
appreciate your
advance.
time. Commissioners?
It's a continuing study, actually, of this, the impact of this project. So I think in due course, we can always expect a good service here because, as I said, as a continuing studies going on, we are trying to explore what's best for the community. So with that, I think the traffic engineers will have to look into this concern. Thank you very much.
Commissioner Teresa?
I was just going to say on my end, I mean, I know the rest of us, it is a beautiful project. We are not saying it isn't a beautiful project, but I think that in our comments are more for the current residents or the people that use the shopping center or the people that live in that vicinity that have to deal with their traffic issues and the parking issues day after day after day. And so, I mean, we're not saying, I mean, as I hear, it sounds like we all agree it's a beautiful
Right.
project. We're looking at something that's quite lovely. It's nice to have something new. It's nice to regenerate, give more energy to, to Westlake Shopping Center. I guess the biggest concern for us would be that we would want to make sure that issues that were not completed possibly in the last remodel in 2007 be addressed or maybe, discussed, identified, and maybe completed. And the other thing I would say is maybe Kimco might also think about the entire parking for the entire Westlake, to revisit how it's designed,
Right.
because, like, it's chaos.
Right.
It is absolute chaos, and because of the chaos, you lose customers. So while you're doing something beautiful like this, my suggestion is maybe work with the city or whoever you have to work to maybe look at your entire, because you know how you're replacing the walkway and raising, but that doesn't take away the issues of when you're driving into that vicinity. And let's say I want to go to Starbucks. Last week, actually, I drove and I was down in that area and I was going to go to Starbucks. And I kept going.
Right.
I mean, I came in, I got in, and nobody lets you go left and right. And I literally just kept going.
Right.
And I went to an, I kept going. There's, you work there, so.
Right. No, I know.
There's no words to describe the chaos. And your businesses are losing business
Right.
because we drive away.
And through the chair,
I-
that's exactly what we've been doing. This application's been in for some time. Prior to the time they actually made an application, the applicants sat down with the city staff. We've taken a look at, what, possible traffic improvements could be installed at the center. And the pass-through from Westlake Center Drive to the adjacent street on the east side was something that was identified as something that's fairly critical. Once traffic enters the shopping center, there's no place for it to gain relief to the side streets. And the parking structure that was constructed in the early 2000s is somewhat inaccessible once vehicles enter the shopping center. And so that's why that roadway linkage that is in between Mattress Firm and the medical offices is so important.
Yeah.
And so that was one thing that we took a look at. Pedestrian access was another important thing. We noticed, we all patronize the shopping center. Pedestrian access through the parking fields is not the greatest. And so that was a directive that was given. The applicant pointed out the installation of, the exterior stairwell was something that was important to us. So we have been taking a look at that. And we want to give you the impression, and it's accurate impression, that we've actually stepped back, taken a look at what, could be done, and we're continuing to do that.
Well, in phase two, could I ask just a question? Like, we're doing this in the overload. I like it. I like the idea. Mixed use, I think it's good if it doesn't wipe out too many small stores. We want to keep the individual independent, but great. It's just, then we have a chance next phase two to you be more specific and we could be more specific to come to a compromise. Because I don't shop there anymore. I used to do it daily.
Right, and we'd like you to come back. And-
Well,
and we-
if I can get in, yes. So, I
Right.
mean, this is good, as long as we're on a common ground of, this is beginning, talking next phase, it's not a slam dunk yet.
Right.
Okay.
We understand, and if I could just make one more comment, and that is that we haven't exhausted all the possibilities to improve the circulation at the shopping center. We're working on some really exciting, or one in particular, really exciting new strategy to try to help people get from our main street to the garage that's even more underutilized than the garage over at Ross, and we continue to pursue that, and I think it's going to work, but it's not yet part of this application, but we're working on that. Totally, I understand your concern about some of these other intersections. I would just caution that I'm not sure that we can fix everything at the center, but we can certainly make it significantly better and make it a much better operating experience that causes a lot less angst and frustration among the residents and shoppers. So that's what we're trying to do, and we continue to work with staff for.
That's all.
Thank you for your comments.
Mr. Chairman,
Well received.
can I, just speaking out of my mind,
Sure.
Parking here is special. I know the place. It's a matter of educating the public here, because we have here an underutilized parking space in Lake Merced. I understand that near Home Depot.
Right.
Whenever I park there, it's empty.
Right.
But when I'm talking with somebody there, oh, it's horrible here, because if they're going to Starbucks, they want to park in front of the Starbucks. So that's a problem. If they want to go to Trader Joe, they want in front of, and then they will speak, oh, parking here is horrible. But it's a matter of educating this consumer here. People sometimes tend to gravitate to complaining, but actually it's a matter of educating them. If there is no parking space in front of Trader Joe or Starbucks, just go there, walk. But sometimes, I'm not saying that they're lazy, but the point is it's a matter of educating them. Education is very important to all sundry here, to all people here, because sometimes they cannot find parking space right in front of the store. And that is where the ruckus starts. Right. And the problem becomes, and they complain here to the city, we don't have parking in front of my house. You see? Sometimes it's a matter of educating them. Open their garage. That's the problem. So to me, it's a matter of educating them. And let's be fair also to all people here. Because I know the city is doing a lot of studies here, continuing. I know them. That's why it's a matter of trying to be fair and just to everybody here. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. If I could just make one more comment, and that is that it's education. I appreciate your comment. I think it's absolutely right. But we can make it better. So we can make it better, first of all, and then with improved signage and improved systems, I do think that we can do better and use this project as an opportunity to try to make more of the center function better. So thank you very much.
Oh, don't go too far. Through the chair, I just wanted to touch, if we could touch base on these units. Are we talking 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom?
Oh, okay. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, because we didn't talk about that
right.
yet.
So we're talking about studio apartments that are, as small as, I think it was about 500 square feet, all the way up through 1-bedrooms and 2-bedrooms and some 3-bedrooms as well. So we're trying to make to try to deliver these 179 units with as varied in their sizes and configurations as possible. And the idea there is that if somebody comes and they say, "Oh, I really don't like this 1-bedroom; it's just not big enough," so that we can say, "Oh, well, there's a 2-bedroom we can we can look at." So we're trying to have as great a variety as possible, and they do the units span from studios through 3-bedrooms. The majority will be the 1-bedrooms and the 2-bedrooms. That's the kind of sweet.
Do you know what? I don't know if it's too early. The price range? Do you have any guess?
Well, all these units are intended to be market pricing. So we've got some studies as to what market is. It's
what the market will bear.
Right. But again, with the sizes, there will be a variety.
Now that's going to, and just throw off the top, 3-bedroom. We're talking about 2 cars to that family.
Right.
So you only got spaces for how many spaces in under garage?
Well, for 179 units in the underground garage, we're talking about 260 spaces. Okay. But there's a good say that there are more cars than we anticipate.
Yeah.
We already have. We're proposing more than the code requires.
Yeah.
But say there's more demand than is anticipated. This shopping center, we have 2,300 parking spaces. That we have more than enough spaces to be able to figure out where to accommodate some additional cars. There's we feel great about that. So, then that's the benefit of the mixed use with the common ownership.
Right, through the chair, just to sort of echo Mr. Shaw's point, is that one of the things we will be requiring is a parking management plan. And so you want to maximize the parking. I mean, an empty parking space is really kind of a wasted resource. And, and with the off-peak, scenario you'd have with the housing and with the commercial, we think that, I think there'd be enough parking for both uses.
And also just to add to that, just in terms of the bedroom count, because it's an important thing to think about, 106 of the 179 units are studio and 1-bedroom apartments. So we're not, the majority of, it could also be said that the majority are studio and 1-bedroom apartments. The vast majority are, it's true, 1- and 2-bedroom apartments. But the project does tend to side on the smaller bedroom count. Mm-hmm. And only 9 are 3-bedroom apartments, 9 of the 179.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a different vision when you get the numbers.
Right.
Yeah. Well, any more? Should we open it to the public for questions? Kelly, is that what you Mr.
Just, sometimes I talk too much. I would like to know the timeline of the project, the director here. No, the timeline of the project. which one do you think? It will take 1 year, 6 months, or 3 months?
Well, given that we won't be the ones actually building the project, I would defer that question to the project proponent. Obviously, we would be there for the building permit review, and we're obviously here tonight as part of the entitlement phase. But much of it is driven by the project proponent and how quickly they can put together their construction drawings and how quickly they can respond to, our comments when we do a review and they
Mr. Schwartz,
resubmit.
can you answer that?
Well, it's tough to say at this point. I can tell you that we anticipate that it will take at least 24 months for construction, so we'd be under construction for about 2 years. As for when that construction would start, gosh, we would love to be able to start construction towards the end of 2018. Maybe it's the beginning of 2019. And then if you go out 2 years from there, we'd be looking at trying to deliver the end of 2020 or sometime in 2021. So these projects do take quite a bit of time. But we would love to get started tomorrow if we could. But we understand there's a process in place.
I asked that question because I, as a businessman, always practice a so-called per CPM. The critical part. If we want this to be done immediately, within the due process,
right,
without cutting corners here. But the point is, if we can do it as soon as possible, because that area really needs to be revitalized. I understand that. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Right, now you said November 27th, this particular phase will go to council, and then council will look at it, and then in 2018, it'll come back again to planning for more specific design review. Now, one question for me is the package I got and I read online is quite large. We had 3 or 4 days, and I wish that once we get it, we don't get it that close, because I may have questions, technical questions, to call Michael or you, because I'm not a planner. So we need to have it, give us at least a week or two to digest, and because it's too close for 4 days, I couldn't do it. I mean, I had to call Michael, and I would like a better design plan. When we got it off the screen, I couldn't see the roads and the things. So that's from my review. I don't know if the other commissioners feel. I think we need a little more time than 4 days.
You're right. You're right.
Is that possible?
Well, we sent it out on Thursday, and today's Wednesday.
Yeah, I know.
It's
I know.
6 days.
And I'm going to charge you for printing paper. How's that? Just a request. I heard it from. Just give us a little more time. There's
Yes, and
no
if
rush.
you ever need paper copies, please do tell us, because
Oh.
sometimes the digital just doesn't work for you. You should definitely let us know that. We're happy
Okay,
to
that's even
deliver.
better. I didn't realize that.
Yes, we're happy to we'll send somebody out with a paper set
I
of
think
plans.
for this project, I would like to say in advance, instead of asking, why don't you go ahead and do that?
Sure.
To the present commissioners.
Not a problem.
That we get a packet, so it gives us a sit at home, cup of coffee, and look through it, and then call you for questions.
Sure. No, that's not a problem at all.
I was just going to mention to the chair, the other thing on a positive note is that when the more modern buildings that we do have, we're going to be saving water and electricity, and there's so many, change is hard. I don't like change.
None of us do.
I've lived in Daly City my entire life, and I've lived in my home for many, many years. But when we look at something new, when it's finally done, and we realize, that we're saving, that it's better for the earth, it's better for Daly City. So that's a good point. I'm trying to think, I don't want to just keep asking, questions and hitting you guys on the parking and stuff. That's a big deal, but, I do believe that the city of Daly City needs nice buildings like this, We're a great city, so.
And I hope you're going to go 100% green. Are you going to go 100% green?
Well, I'm not sure how to define 100%, but it's going to be a state-of-the-art,
Okay.
modern, efficient, very sustainable building. So
Yeah,
Right,
we
so-
appreciate that.
thank you.
Kelly, we open it up for questions? I have one card. Anybody else? Could you? Thank you. Strauss, right?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your comment.
And your engineers, too. Remind everybody you have 2 minutes, right? Am I getting this right? You don't free, correct me anytime, Kelly. Okay. First person, Marion Broker.
My question is not relative to this, so can I wait till
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
It's not
For this
relevant.
item.
not relevant to this?
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, thank you. Albert W. Good evening, Albert.
Hi, good evening. I have a question, okay? Just echoing some of the things I've read online in our local social networking site. Why not condos instead of apartments? Because people who live in condos may be more invested in the communities. People living in apartments, they just come and go. And why not remodel the existing building instead of tearing it down and building a super big box structure in the middle of 1950s Westlake area of the Daly City? And if there's not enough parking, my concern is people will go into the neighborhoods because, like you said, the 2 cars per family, or, and you know, rent is not cheap in the Bay Area, so there'll be more than maybe 3 to 4 people living in apartments, and so more cars, and not a parking sign, they'll just park on the neighborhoods, surrounding neighborhoods. And it seems like we're trying to put like a, because I looked at the picture, it's a nice modern building, as many people said, but it looks like we're trying to put SF Soma into Westlake, which is a 1950s neighborhood. I don't know, I just felt like it's kind of strange. You know, Soma is very nice, very modern, but they had a lot of parcel. They had like, you know, really large lots of land to build all these nice modern boxes or condos. And I'm not against change. I mean, I like the recent remodel of Sherwani. It was really nice. I mean, you got Nordstrom Rack and you got other retailers there, and it's pretty modern and nice. And change is good, but I just felt like the scale of the structure here, that's, you know, in the middle of Westlake, which is mostly like 2-story homes, and even the apartments are, the Westlake Village apartments are like 2 stories. You know, the scale is kind of out of proportion with the surrounding area. And I agree there's housing shortage in the Bay Area, and I noticed that apartment sets also they're building like 2 or 3 structures planning in the next few years, and just going through planning. So, I mean, it's not like we only Daly City can supply all this housing. You know, there's other developments going on right down the block, you know, in the apartment set. So, I mean, can we really provide all the housing? I don't think so. I mean, yeah.
Thank you, Albert.
Okay.
Anybody planning want to address anything that he mentioned, or? No? Okay.
The applicant could address the 10-year question.
Okay.
They may have a financial reason for apartments versus condos. In terms of the scale, you know, I think the architectural style is Westlake actually does have sort of a minimalist, modernist sort of design.
Right.
The building, even though it's true, it is definitely larger than the adjacent structures.
Okay.
But it does try to, you know, give a nod to that architectural typology. Yeah, and I think, you know, remodeling the structure is probably something that's probably not been considered, but again, the applicant could probably better address that.
Okay. What, Mr. Strauss, did you want to say something, please?
Sure. I wanted to thank the resident for, you know, for his comments. As for why apartments versus condos, it's that our company, Kimco, is a real estate investment trust. We're a REIT. We're publicly traded, and we typically don't sell our interest in our prized assets. We generate returns for our shareholders, which tends to favor a rental structure
Right.
as opposed to a condominium structure. We also do think that there is a great market for really nice apartment units
Right.
in this area. As for the residents' understandable concern about the scale, we're actually talking about a building that's very much in scale with the height of the parking structure behind Ross. We're talking about a building that's very, very much in scale with the Lake Merced parking structure that we have on the other side of the shopping center, and we step up to it. So we certainly use some architectural strategies to try to soften it, minimize the scale, but it is actually very much in keeping with the scale, in our opinion, of the shopping center itself.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Van Dyce Roth. Thank you, Mr. Roth.
Hi, I'm a longtime Daly City resident ever since I was at Daly Bowl. Okay, so I want to echo the traffic concerns, but one of the things that you didn't talk about so much was the traffic that goes in and out of the Safeway parking lot. That little bit right in there, it makes for a really big problem, I think, when you try to either enter or exit to John Daly Boulevard from that area. If you're in the Safeway parking lot, then you're good luck trying to find a way out, because and then you swear that you're not going to do this again, and yet it happens every time you go to Safeway. Okay, so you when you exit Safeway, it's hard to figure out where the Safeway is, passageway is to exit the lot onto the street. And if you're a pedestrian, I really worry about the pedestrians there, because it simply isn't safe. And it's not just the speed of the traffic. You could be going at maybe 5 miles per hour. I just don't think that the signage, the light, the whatever the thing is that makes the traffic flow in kind of a smooth pattern just isn't happening there. I like change. I like progress. I think that's all. I'm all for that. But I do want to echo the concerns of Mr. Tallarico and Ms. Perano about getting things done the right way. If you promised to do something previously and it hadn't been done yet, then that's a problem. I know I've experienced some of the confusion with trying to park in that other lot by the Walgreens in that area, not understanding the Banana Island. There's this little kind of street. I don't know. It's very weird. Plus, it's unsafe. It feels unsafe. It feels very constricted. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Roth. Now that which is common is the only thing with Safeway, exit and entrance, is Safeway's problem. Am I correct? Or does it come under Kimco? Because that is a bad,
It's Kimco land.
Oh,
It's-
well, okay, then Kimco.
It's Kimco.
Well,
It's
there you go.
it's a challenging intersection, and Mr. Roth is absolutely right. I mean, it's not a great intersection. I use that intersection multiple times per day. Mr. Roth is spot on. It's a challenging
So you
place.
can
We
look
do
at
think-
it, but to get to the
Right.
point, okay.
But it's also the first real entry into the surface parking lots of the shopping center along Park Plaza Drive. There's no other place to get in. So I do think that to some extent, when we add that cut through, people can cut in through further up in the front of the center, which may relieve some of that traffic. But that's a challenging intersection, and
So that's on your bucket list.
we would love to try to figure out a way to improve that. So,
Thank you.
But I certainly appreciate Mr. Roth's comment.
And we are,
Mr. Chairman, just a bit. When I say education here, educating the public, is that you could have to put signage like parking available here.
Right.
Because you look at that, she's a resident
Right.
of that area, but still she doesn't know where to park also. See?
No, it's got more to do with the convenience.
That's why I'm saying signage.
No, I mean, the signage needs to be, I don't know, big, redundant, I don't care how many signs they could tell me, go this way, go this way, go this way. But it needs to be convenient and realistically so, not just, I know there's parking structures there.
Okay.
I don't use them because they're not convenient to me.
Okay.
May I,
yeah.
through the chair, and when I've gone to Safeway, the biggest problem is that when you're going in that entrance that you're talking about or going out, well, let's say you're going in, you're right there where they're parking, it's to the front too much. It
Right.
needs to be back, it's too close to where people are trying to park to get into the grocery store.
Right.
And the difference about buying groceries is that I will come out of Safeway with a shopping cart full of bags, and you're trying to get to your car, right? So I'm not a designer, but I would tell you that where you have your entrance, we're talking right here, then everyone's parking, and then there's a road, and then they're parking. Your entrance needs to be a little away from there. Because you're going right, so when you go in, people are trying to get out of their spots, right? Out of their spots, and then you've got that road, it's full of congestion, and the concern I would have, or I'm just stating is, when I go in that entrance, and I only go there if I'm going to shop at Safeway, but what you're saying is this the possibility that people are like, hi, I think I need to go to that store, and I'll go through this entire mess to get myself through. It's too close. When you're trying to get in, it's too close to people parking.
But to bring that to a point is, you're observing it, you know it's a problem, and you will look at it.
And you're going to check it out.
Well, we always look at it and we can look at it again.
And
Yeah.
try to
Sure.
fix it.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I do think one of the strategies is the better, if we can improve access to the Lake Merced garage and try to pull cars over there, and if we can pull cars to more efficiently circulate around the shopping center, maybe we can relieve some of the demand. There's always opportunities to tweak and to better sign
Right.
these areas. But we can, if we can certainly take a look at it.
Yeah.
It's a challenging
agree.
intersection. But I would point out, one of the reasons why it's a challenging intersection is because it's such a great store.
Yeah.
So it does generate
Yeah.
a lot of demand, and that only adds to the challenge.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the point is certainly well taken, and we can certainly.
And I agree with Mr. Centorm, education, but as we all know, us old dogs don't learn new tricks.
Right.
So
And I
moving on.
abstain from commenting on that.
There you
I
go.
don't-
Save
I feel like
yourself,
that's
save
Us.
a no-win situation for this applicant.
Yeah, through the chair, the staff has an ongoing conversation with Kimco about improving pedestrian access to the Lake Merced garage, because it is a major factor. The garage is underutilized, but a lot of the parking's there, so
Yeah.
we need to
I
figure out
appreciate that. It's good to
something
vent.
Yeah.
It's the first time I got a chance to get a Kimco person. Anyway,
He may start shopping there again.
Mr.
I'll keep an eye on it.
Mr. Harry Weller, am I pronouncing it right? Harry,
Yes,
please.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to echo your concerns about the traffic and the parking. There's many weird and inconsistent things about this project. For example, you're going to add some retail, and yet you also said you're going to reduce commercial. That's a little weird. You've already got empty stores. Stores are fleeing to Saramonte. You've also got Stonestown, just a little ways away. I don't think we need more retail. I think that the problem here is that, it's regrettable that Kimco overbuilt the retail space and now can't keep the stores filled. Not just the ones fleeing to Saramonte, but for years now, struggling stores, smaller retail stores along the Main Street. I don't like the whole idea of this very large development going on. It's weird that you're talking about underground parking, 2 stories of underground parking. Have you looked at the water table in this area? There's a reason they call it Lake Merced Boulevard. It's because it's lake level. I don't know that you can put two levels of parking underneath there. Concerning the Lake Merced parking garage, yeah, nobody uses it. People just refer to the Banana Island. I think that's been gone a few years. Nobody even goes there. If you put retail there, they die because nobody can get there. I think I echo the commissioner's concerns. Why don't you fix up the problems that you've got now with parking, with access, with driving, the crazy intersection at, I'm going to call it at the Arco station, and then the other crazy intersection that's across from the banks by Safeway. You can't get in there. You're talking about moving the dental and another commercial out of the plaza and over to the south gate. There's no parking there either. You need to solve your current problems and not just say, oh, a huge new development is the solution. I really hope this doesn't go forward without a lot of current problems already being fixed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you, Mr. Weller. Should we proceed to next? The public hearing is closed.
Actually, you need to make a motion to close the
Okay,
public
make a
hearing.
motion,
Thank
the
you.
public hearing closed.
Second it.
Okay, motion approved. Now we can do item 2? No?
You need to take action on this item, which
Oh,
is
okay.
to,
Well, I don't have that.
Yes, sorry.
it's in the staff.
So why don't you read that and I'll, go ahead. I don't
Yeah,
have
if you look at the last page of the staff report, the recommendation, so it's a recommendation to approve the preliminary plan for PD 60.
May I, before we do that, through the chair, so if we are making any recommendations, which we
Yes.
have throughout the meeting, have those been taken so that we don't have to make them all before?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You would make the motion to approve it as amended,
Oh,
and
there it
we've
is.
written down.
All your comments will be reflected in the staff report that goes to the city council.
Okay, so we have here, we want to approve the preliminary plan for PD 60, Plan Development Revision, PD 4-17-012761. Can I have a
A motion?
motion to do that?
To accept it, to move
To
forward?
accept
Yes,
and move
yes.
forward?
So
Motion,
move.
second? Second, okay. We need a voice.
A roll call, please.
Roll call, please.
Satori,
Yes.
Proano,
Here.
Tallarico.
Yes. Bingo. All right. Okay, everybody happy?
And just through the chair, I personally would like to thank the residents that sat through the entire process here to come and give your voice. And your comments have not been in vain. They are going forward. I hope you understood that we're behind you on that one part. It's a great, sounds like a great project. So, but on the other hand, maybe we get all the other stuff fixed. Oh, thank you.
Mr.
And
Chairman,
thank you for coming.
Yes.
I received here a letter from Esther Lejour. Is he here? Well, if she's not here, actually, let me give you my rejoinder. I know these people can defend themselves. But my point is, as a commissioner, we might be taking this yes because, I don't see any cultural or historical value on the building. I have seen the building, I have gone around, and it needs a lot of really maintenance. And to maintain a building, it's very costly and it's very expensive than expansive. Remember that an example here is the Bay Bridge before, the old Bay Bridge. According to the engineers, just an example, I'm not saying, an example is, it is expensive to maintain a bridge which is, I would say, obsolete. Not obsolete, but at least to maintain it's more expensive. That's why we created a new Bay Bridge, which is more, very, I would say, functional, and at the same time, it's that you don't have to maintain it. So same thing with this building. If this building will be destroyed or rebuilt with a new one, I think that will be better for the community, because because the letter said, let us not destroy the building, this and that, because I don't see any historical or cultural value in the building, mind you. This is my own personal opinion, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, with that, now we proceed to the real chairperson.
Thank you.
Call
No,
item 2.
I want to thank the
Wait, one moment, I'm sorry, we had one more person who wanted to speak
No, she's on this one.
on
Number
this
2.
issue? You're on number
yeah.
2?
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
No,
Go ahead.
she
just
may,
public-
Public comment.
Yeah.
Meeting is not yet
Meeting's not
over.
over. We'll call
We
item
have one
2,
more agenda item, and then you can come speak.
and then we have.
I'm sorry. Right, now we're all in.
Yeah,
We're on the same page. I don't know what she wants to do.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Strauss, where are you? Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, don't go away. Yeah.
Okay, everyone, so I guess we're on item number 2. Item number 2 is the abandonment of street right-of-way adjacent to 25 Florence Street. And I guess the staff has a report to read.
Yes, this is a very brief
First.
item, actually. The Planning Commission is being requested to find general plan conformity of what's called a right-of-way vacation. The city presently holds a right-of-way adjacent to 25 Florence Street. And in 2016, the Hilldale School, some of you may remember this application, received approval for an enrollment increase in their school from 119 to 150 pupils. And as part of that, they were required to, and as part of their project, proposed to build a 7-space parking lot on at the end of Florence Street, adjacent to Point Pacific. So the city is no longer using this land, and therefore the right-of-way vacation is necessary. The Planning Commission is asked to find this in conformance with the general plan. The circulation element shows the roadway alignment in this curving pattern, and this area therefore is no longer needed for the road. So we would essentially be giving it back to the adjacent property owner, the Hilldale School, to develop their parking lot.
And, pardon me, through the chair, there's nothing under there? There's no pipes or PG&E wires or, I mean, is there anything under there that we're going to have to be concerned about? An
There's nothing this
easement?
map indicates is there.
Yeah, there's no easement.
And if there was, that easement wouldn't go away just because of the abandonment.
It's surface stuff.
Yeah,
Right.
it would have to be accommodated in the driveway, the parking lot design.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other questions, Commissioners?
No.
Of the staff? Commissioner?
Nope.
Okay, so at this time, do I have any public cards on item number 2?
No?
Public appearances?
No, that's,
No,
it's not about that.
She just wants public comment, I believe so. Okay. So at this time, I'd like to make a motion to approve abandonment of right-of-way that is consistent with our general plan.
So, second?
Okay, thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Satori,
Yes.
Talarico,
Yes.
Proano,
Yes.
Di Giovanni.
Yes. Okay, so that's approved. Okay, so now we're going to move on. And I believe that there, to our public appearances, and this lady out here has a card.
You're on.
Where's her card?
She didn't give me a card.
She did fill out.
Mary.
Yeah, she filled out.
She did fill out a card.
Mary broke.
She was called a while ago.
Oh, Mary, yes, I'm sorry, the first one. Mary. Wait, get my glasses, fine, it's right here.
Marion?
Marion Broker, right?
Good evening,
Good
Mr.
evening.
Commissioner.
Okay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think I may be in the wrong place,
Oh, that's all
but
right.
I am appealing to the Planning Commission to direct the Permit Department to stop allowing investors coming into my neighborhood and adding additional basement rooms to rent. I've lived here since 1974 in the Westlake Estates, and over the last 5 years, about 5 investors have moved in, totally neglecting the landscaping. They're advertising rooms on Craigslist for $850 each, sharing kitchens and baths. 2 doors away from me is a rental with 7 tenants and 6 cars. Some of the neighbors have appeared at the Daly City Council, but we didn't seem to get anywhere. And now a house behind me, directly behind me, the houses are large, and a lot of them have 4 bedrooms. They've added 3 downstairs. So it's another 7 tenants, all separate tenants, and really they're becoming rooming houses. So is there any possibility that the permit department would stop allowing these investors to have these additional rooms in their basements to try and stop it? It is really, and I wrote to the mayor on the 15th of October outlining what our concerns, but I heard nothing. And I also have a copy of an ad from a realtor. A house 2 doors up from me sold for $260,000 over the asking price. And that's how they're being sold. And some of them are coming in from overseas investing. So it's a terrible thing to see the neighborhood decline.
Wow.
And even if they maintain the property, we might suffer on. I could send photos of the weeds and the condition of them. It's really dreadful.
Through the chair,
So, yes.
have you gone through the code enforcement department? The city code enforcement?
Well, you see, what's to stop them renting rooms?
Well, could you explain?
Yeah, it's really,
Commissioner, I would just like to say that, we're unable to communicate because due to the Brown Act, but we can actually ask staff if they would look into it
please.
or direct where she can look into it.
Code enforcement.
Well, the simple answer to the question is
Yeah.
that renting rooms and individual rooms inside a single-family home is not illegal.
It's not illegal.
It's not illegal. So the city has to, so calling code enforcement would be a
How about
fruitless.
building additional rooms?
Code enforcement would only enforce if the construction were illegally done.
Right.
So actually,
Without
the
permits.
request that we're getting from Ms. Broker is that to not issue permits for
Oh.
people
To
to
build
construct, and
rooms
I
in the
don't
big
believe that we
halls.
can discriminate against the type of homeowner.
So we got our resident attorney?
Right, no,
Explain.
this is private property, and the city would have difficulty time enforcing that request. It is something that's on the city's radar, and they're aware of it, and there are some issues that are being looked at
As long
by our
as they're not
office.
Really,
moved down.
please.
I mean,
So the city council's directed that a task force be,
okay.
And a town hall
Formulated.
following it.
Good,
Thank you.
good.
it's, the
Yeah, so they're
purpose
in a
of that is
process.
not
Thank you.
specifically about room rentals.
Okay.
It's a
Yeah.
sort of an
Another problem.
associated.
But should the owner live in the residence to rent the rooms? None of these owners are living there.
Again, there's no ordinance though.
There's no legal requirement under our
If they're not
code.
legal units, if they're legal units, the owner has to live in it.
If they're legal units, the owner has to
So
live there.
for secondary units, there is a requirement for owner occupancy. The issue here being that they're not second units, it's room rentals.
Okay, so there is, it's on the radar, that's what
It
she's
is.
saying. The
Right,
city's
and this-
studying the problem.
Please,
And-
thank you so much.
And pardon me, through the chair, I would just say is that this is the new phenomenon. I mean, it's not, this is new in that this is more recent where this is happening
Yes.
because
There's
we
such a
understand there's going to be, there's discussion and then council's looking
Council's
into it.
forming a task force.
I see.
So that's very
Thank you,
good
thank you.
on your behalf.
Well, I think when the legislator passed the ADU law, they didn't intend that to happen.
Yeah.
You see, that's, so, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Brooker.
We
Thank you for your
appreciate
time, and thank you
time, dear.
for
Thank
coming
you.
out. Thank you very much. We really appreciate
And
it.
you're all right about the parking.
Thank you. So I would just like pay attention to when the task force is done by the city council.
So you can.
It will be
right.
public notice.
It will. Thank you
Yeah.
again. Okay, good evening.
Thank you. Thank you. So since we've already had the vacation, are there any other staff communications at this time? Okay, so what I would like to do is, because November the 11th is Veterans Day, and there's been a lot of hurricanes and tragedies, if we could just pause for a moment and think about the victims and our veterans who have lost their lives and continue to serve us before we close the meeting, I think it would be dutifully, because a lot of people are celebrating our Veterans Day in some way or another, but one day doesn't seem to be enough. So if we could take a moment of silence before we adjourn, that would be appropriate. Thank you. If there's not anything else, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.